My name's Eli Delaney, and I have the honor of meeting some pretty cool people. These are the entrepreneurs, the artists, the creatives, the game changers that are making a positive impact in the people that they meet. And I'm a firm believer that the people that you meet can get you anywhere you want to go. And this show is my way of sharing them with you. It's my way of also helping you meet cool people. All right, welcome back to another show here. Today's guest is somebody that I got introduced by Jeff Kazanov, or Kazanova. That's how we pronounce his last name. He introduced me as I told him I was doing a podcast, and he's like, I know who you need to talk to. This gal, she does awesome podcasts, and you guys should talk. You guys are doing some really fun stuff. I was like, all right. So Jennifer Loehding, she and I met via Jeff, had a great conversation and just hit it off immediately. She is here in the Dallas area as well. We have not actually had an opportunity to meet in person, but hopefully we'll fix that soon. She is a work-life strategist, dream builder coach, and the host and creator of Behind the Dreamers and the Starter Girls podcasts. She is doing all kinds of fun stuff. She is rocking it, and she's got a fun story I want to share with you guys today. So with that said, Jennifer, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Eli. Super excited to be here today.
So tell us a little bit about your journey. How did you get started in, as you're working as a coach, how did you get started in this stuff?
Yeah, this is such a crazy story. So my background was 22 years in Mary Kay, and I spent probably about 18 years of that in leadership. And so I've kind of been, I guess, in that whole pink bubble of motivation and, all of the recognition and all of that fun stuff. And so interesting story, around 2012, I was diagnosed with this weird, rare nerve condition. And in that same 6 months period of time that I was diagnosed, I had this major car accident. And so because of this condition and this situation, it completely turned my life upside down. And so I spent the better part of 4 or 5 years really trying to figure out how to survive. And so it kind of, when this happened, spun me into a tailwind of really trying to figure out myself, figure out what I was doing, figure out why this was happening to me. And so I eventually had to step down from that leadership position that I had with Mary Kay and really went on this, what I like to call, I want to say a spiritual journey to heal myself, and ended up taking on a holistic approach, did keto for about 2 years, became a marathon runner, and really set out on a goal to heal myself, both not physically, but also mentally, because anytime you go through a major catastrophe, I call it a catastrophe because it altered my entire life. My kids were 16, 12, and 8 at the time. And I was that, PTA mom, homeroom mom, field trip mom, the Mary Kay mom. I was doing all the things, and my life went to a halt. And so I went on this whole spiritual journey to heal myself and was successfully able to get myself off of all of those medications. But when I came out of that whole ordeal, I was like, what do I do with all this knowledge? What do I do with all this? I went through this massive transformation, and I knew there was more to it. I knew that this wasn't just about my health and well-being. There was a lot at hand here. So a lot of it was my belief systems, the habits that I was doing in my life. And although I was exercising all the time, I still had a lot of mental beliefs that were really, really damaging, and they were wreaking havoc not only in my business life, but in my personal life. And so here we are today. One thing led to another. I wrote a book in 2019. I launched a podcast, and I did all of that really because I just wanted to inspire people and tell them my story and how can I help them. And that led into me getting a personal life coaching certification as a certified dream builder coach. And so now, what I do is I have brought all that together, and my whole mission is to really help people live their best lives. How do we bridge the gap between our personal lives and our business life and bring all that together so that we can feel successful and truly be happy and live abundantly in the way we should?
I love it. It's awesome. Now, I want to backtrack just a little bit because you said that you had been successful with Mary Kay when you had started all of this stuff. You gave me the longer bio, and I am horrible at reading bio. So I keep it nice and short when I do the bio at the beginning because you're going to tell your story way better than I am. But one of the things you mentioned in there was how many years you had been there, and you had been in leadership. You had been very successful with it. You had the pink cars, and you had the diamonds and all the stuff. What is what's the thing that goes through your mind when you're like, I have to give this up?
Oh, this was hard. I'm not one, like, I'm a decision maker. I will say this. When I make a decision, I stand 100% behind the decisions that I make and I own them. This was a tough one because to me, this was my identity. It was all I knew. I started Mary Kay. I joke about this. I started as a baby. My daughter was 18 months when I joined. I was 27 years old when I came into this. And I went all the way through my 30s, my 40s, through two other kids. It was everything I had known because that's how I built my business. And I loved my customers. I loved the people that I was working with. And when it came to this decision, it was a 6-month process. It really was a process because I did not want to make this decision and get up and regret what I was going to do. And so one morning, I joke about this now. I can laugh about it now because it led me to great places. But I remember sitting up one morning at like 5 a.m. and I was like, today's the day. I'm letting it go. And, I cried about it for 24 hours. I sulked. And then the next morning I got up and it was like the brick was off my back because at that moment I knew that now I could put my energy in the right place. I firmly believe you can't pour from an empty wagon. And when you're not mentally and physically well, and this is why I'm so passionate about physical health, but also mental health, where we come from, because when both of those are not working out, they catch up with each other. And I couldn't give to the people that I was working with in the state of mind that I was in. I knew I had to be better. And so it was hard, but today I know that it was the right decision because I enjoy what I get to do now. Not that I didn't then, but I really enjoy what I do now.
Right. That's awesome. And I thank you for sharing that because I wanted you to share that for the simple fact that, in life, we all go through stuff happening, and sometimes it's sometimes it's not a big deal, but it's definitely a big shift. And then sometimes you have big deals like what you went through. And I think it's really important to kind of share what those things are and how do we deal with that? Because so many people, when they get hit by those obstacles or those curveballs that get thrown at us, they don't really know how to react to it. And I think it's really important that, for people like us to be able to share stories and share, this is what it was. And this is how I got through that, which I love. I love what you shared there with that. So with that said, give me kind of an idea of when a client first comes to you, where are they struggling?
This is a good one. Most of my clients right now are entrepreneurs. I work a lot in the female space for obvious reasons. That's where I've been forever. Not that I don't take men as clients. I love them too. And I get along very, very well with them. But I think a lot of times when they come to me, they don't really know what they don't know, right? So they show up and they feel stuck. They're trying to grow their business. They're trying to move into a leadership position and they sort of feel stuck. And this is kind of where I was, and I can sort of relate. I never like to say I know how someone feels, but I can say I can relate to this because having been in Mary Kay for as long as I was and in leadership, yes, I earned cars, I earned rings, I earned a lot of achievement, but I was never truly fulfilled. I never felt success. And you've heard about the hedonic treadmill where we reach something and we keep climbing. And that's where I was. It was never enough. And it didn't become that until I started working on myself and figuring out what I was trying to do. And so a lot of times these guys come to me, the females, they come to me and they're trying to work and they want to grow their business. They feel stuck. And what we have to do is we have to backpedal. And it usually comes in the conversations when I start breaking down and going, okay, why are we feeling stuck? What are the habits that we're doing? Now, why are we doing those habits? Why are we not doing what we should be doing? And that really gets into a conversation of our mindset, like what belief systems we're holding, what biases that we're hanging on to. About anything. It'd be money. It can be our self-worth. Female, working with women, I get a lot of the money issues come up. It was a big issue for me. So a lot of it is they're stuck in their business. I can't go to them and say, I have to make you a healthier human being because they don't want to know that, right? Unless they're in that space. Most of them want to know, how do I grow in the position that I'm growing? But in order to do that, we got to work on the leader. We got to make the leader better.
Right. No, I love that. And so when somebody comes to you, you're helping them to find those things. If somebody feels stuck, do you have an idea, like a quick exercise that somebody could do that would be the first step to kind of realizing where the hiccup is?
Yeah.
Do you have an idea on that one?
Sorry about that. I didn't mean to interrupt you. I would say start with your habits. I would probably have them write down what they're doing. I know that we're not going to want to do that, but one of the biggest things I learned is what gets tracked gets happened. Like what happens gets tracked, right? Like when we're paying attention and being cognizant and aware, I'd say mindful, whatever word you want to use, of what we're doing, we can start seeing where the roadblocks are, because we all have the same amount of time in a day. And what I've learned over time is that what is important to us will get done. And so it's just like even with exercise, a lot of times we'll say we don't have time to do it. Well, if it was important and truly important to us, we would find a way to make it happen, right?
Yep.
Leaders find a way to make things happen. And so it really gets down to tracking out and looking at what you're doing. And then we can kind of start figuring out from that, what are we not doing? What do we need to be doing? And fixing the gaps here.
Nice. So what's working, what's not working, what do we need to add, what do we need to get rid of, all that kind of stuff, which is great. And you brought up like the whole exercise thing. So for most of my life, I've not been into exercise, not interested. I don't like it, never have.
We talked about that, I remember.
Yeah, you and I did talk about this.
Yes.
But in the last year, that was one of the things that I decided it was time that I needed to do that. And so I have it. It's like, that has to be the first thing that I do. If I don't do it first thing, it's not going to happen. And so my schedule is based around that. The first thing in the morning, I get up at a certain time with the idea that before anything else happens, I get a workout in. And I have been more consistent with that since I put that into place than I ever have my entire life. And so it's good when you can, when you stop and you realize, okay, what's important, not just what's important, but yes, we don't necessarily want to do it. I still don't want to do it. I still don't like doing it. But in order to make it happen, because I know it is important, you have a specific process with that, and you just fit that in. Mm-hmm. And when you fit that in, you put it on the calendar. Right. It's one of the things that I'm very big, and this is even this year, I even wrote something about this a couple of weeks ago about being more intentional with my calendar of everything goes on the calendar, with the goal of, if it's not on the calendar, it's going to be wishy-washy whether it gets done. But if it's on the calendar, it's there. It's an appointment, just like it is with any client.
Yeah. That's good, Eli. And it gets to it really comes back to, and I think we talked about this before, whatever we did in the early years of our life, and whether, fitness was ingrained in our family or not, really comes to play later. And a lot of times I think, we set these really high metrics for what we should be doing, and we make them almost impossible. And so we really set ourselves up for failure. And so what I always say, if somebody comes to me, a lot of times I get, because leaders want to be fit, right? Like a lot of them come to me and they want to incorporate exercise into their regime, their workout, into their daily life. And what we want to do is make that become a lifestyle, not a short-term exercise plan or a diet plan. We want it to become a lifestyle. And in order to do that, we have to set metrics that you are going to be willing to do and not feel that you're stretching yourself too far out, because then all we do is we fail. And then what do we get? We got confirmation bias. Now we know we're a failure. We've just confirmed it. And we repeat the same patterns of behavior. So the idea here is, how do I help, and how do you find a way to do something, whether it's exercise or you want to track your sales. Sometimes that's hard for leaders, is just to track their sales, right? For their accountant, whatever it is we need to do. How do we make that where we're going to set it up for you to create some small wins so that you will build this confidence and keep doing it? And then eventually it gets to a place where, like, we've learned the word, what is it? Conscious or unconscious competent, like driving your car. You get to a place where you get up and exercise now becomes a part of who you are. Like it is my routine. I get up every day. I don't negotiate. I have to tell myself today, Jennifer, take a break. It's okay. You can have a break today, and I'm fine with it. That's where we want you to get to a place where you feel confident about it.
Nice. I love it. So let's talk a little bit about the mental health side, because I know you're helping people with a lot of that and figuring out what's blocking from the head standpoint, not just physical, because it all stems from the mental side anyway. But
yes,
what are some of the areas that people are stuck in the most when they're coming to you, and what are some of the habit, like the good habit versus bad habit breaking kind of situations?
Absolutely. Well, I think most of them always come back to our worth, right? Like it's the fear of rejection. We, somewhere along the line, when they always talk about when we were babies, we would get up and walk and we would fall down and our parents would be worried. We'd just get right back up and walk, or right? Like when we wanted to learn to ride our bicycle, we learned to ride our bicycle. We probably crashed 100 times. I know I ran into the ditch so many times. I didn't know how to work the brakes, but I got back up and rode my bike. And so somewhere along the line between our young years and into our later years, we start to develop this fear of rejection. And I think a lot of times, depending on how you were raised, the way you were brought up, the influences that you have, your self-worth gets shattered. And I think it shows up in various ways. It may come into, like I mentioned earlier, a money situation. So a lot of times when I'm dealing with clients, because I mentioned specifically women, they have a hard time asking for the money that they're really worth, what they should be asking for. And so they'll negotiate, they'll reduce, they'll start compromising the program. They might, like, let's say they're building a program, for instance, they may go in and say, oh, well, I'm going to reduce the price because I'm not getting a few people to sign up, rather than saying, no, I'm going to stay true to my price. I'm going to keep adding value. I'm going to keep building, and I'm going to keep working at this until I get it right. And so I think that's one of the big ones. I think a lot of times it comes in the form of just not asking for what we want. Like we want something, but we won't go for it, or we bow out instead of doing it. And you and I know, in order to do anything great, you're going to have to be a little brave. You're going to have to step out of your comfort zone. You're going to have to do the crazy. So a lot of it just really comes back to self-worth.
I love it. And one of the things you said there, you're talking about like the money is like the temptation to drop prices. So as entrepreneurs, we all go through that phase where all of a sudden things are not, we're not getting the clients in, or too many people are talking about, well, that's just too much or whatever. And we're tempted by it. And we all suffer from it at one point or another. So I think it's really good to have this bit of the conversation. The difference is, like, for me personally, one of the things that I found is it's not a matter of it's not the right price, that it's not that it's too expensive. It's just that those aren't the right clients. And it's like,
I
how do we
agree.
shift that and shift the mindset behind it, as opposed to going for the lowest common denominator, going for the better result? Who's going to be, where can I fish differently, go to a different place, hang out with different people that do see the value in what we're doing.
Yeah, I agree. And it's much easier to sell to the right people, is it not? I mean, if you're trying to go into, a fancy steak restaurant or a low steak restaurant, you're going to have a different clientele, right? You're going to sell this fancy steak to the people over here who don't want that. You're going to feel defeated. So you might as well shift to the people that want what you have to offer, and figure out how to create value with those people. And you're going to walk out much happier.
Right. Yeah. There's a meme going around that I've seen for about the last year about, the $500 client. Well, this has got to work. And if this doesn't work, you don't understand how the backbone of my entire livelihood is going to be hurt, and blah, blah, blah. And there's the $5,000 client, check sent.
Yeah,
And it really is. It does work out to that. I know for me personally, the clients that pay me the most are usually the easiest to work with.
I
And
agree.
they're the easiest to work with. They appreciate it more. And I think that that's something, as entrepreneurs, both men and women, we both suffer from that, we're too tempted to do that when it's like, oh, well, I'm running into too many people that just, they can't afford it. Maybe it is too expensive, when the reality is you got to find a different person to talk to.
Yeah, I agree.
I love it. So when somebody's working with you, you work with people in individual, group. How does that work?
I do both. I mostly
Okay.
work individual. That's what I found. I'm shifting a little bit because I just finished building a high ticket online course. So I'm kind of getting all the phases of that sort of setup, which that will
Okay.
be more of like a community based type deal,
Mm-hmm.
where I'll move a group of people through this kind of at their speed, but it'll be a community based deal. But most of
Nice.
mine come in, they're individual coaching, and it varies. I'm working with a gal right now. I've started working with her in right when COVID hit. So December of 2020, and I'm still working with her today. And, it's been so much fun to watch her. She's young. She has traveled to Dubai, Kenya. I mean, she has bought a car, bought a house. They call them flats because she bought a flat in Dubai.
Mm-hmm.
But she has done so many amazing things this year and had her best year in 2023. And so, yeah, it's fun to watch these people make these shifts, and these transformations.
That is awesome. I love it. And I love it's always fun when you hear those stories. It's like you see the client that comes to you and they're here, and then you watch the journey and you've helped them move along to that journey, and you take pride in that like a parent.
Mhm.
I love that.
Yeah.
Awesome. So let's talk for just a minute. You've got 2 podcasts. Let's talk about the podcast for a second. So Behind the Dreamers.
Yep.
What's
Well, yeah, Behind the Dreamers is fun. It's actually a morph from the original podcast, which is the Starter Girls, and so there's this whole story that went with that. But to sum it up in a nutshell, it is people sort of kind of like what you're doing. People that that are doing amazing things. They're cool. I call them cool people too. They're awesome people living the extraordinary.
Yep.
And I've had so many incredible people on there, from former pro players to musicians to I've had like 3 world record holders, and then I've had amazing entrepreneurs that stepped out of corporate and went into the entrepreneur space and created something unique in their field. So it's a fun, inspirational storytelling of cool people doing cool things, kind of like you.
Nice. I love it. So tell me, like, what's one of your top stories from that?
Oh my gosh, I have so many, but I will tell you, I've had one that most recently that I really, really liked. She's a mom of 7 out of Utah, has a thriving financial business, been in the industry for a long time. She got into this major car accident a few years ago, wasn't supposed to live apparently. Well, came out of that. And I think her son had mentioned something to her, like, what are you going to do now that you've come out of this? Well, she decided to become a mountain climber. And she went and climbed Mount Everest. And then that wasn't enough. So then she went and set a world record and did this 7-second summits. Amazing woman. Just launched her book, I think like last Friday, her first book, Break Proof. And I just had so much fun talking to her because she's such a grit kind of person. And I love those kind of women that are just, they're unhinged, right? Like they're willing to do anything. And she tells this funny story on my show about how she went in and she loves to do things with her kids, but she went in and she noticed like all these moms were dressed up, and she realized she was probably not that kind of mom. Like she loved her kids, but she wasn't probably going to be the dress up kind of mom, bringing the cupcakes and doing all the mom things. But amazing episode. But I've had a lot of them. I've had a lot.
That is awesome. I love it. So let's talk a little bit about Starter Girls.
Yep. This one I'm passionate about. It's my original. Started this one pre-pandemic, October of 2019. A fellow Mary Kay sales director and I started it together. We had just kind of moved ourselves out of that position and wanted to create a space for women to inspire. And then what ended up happening is I was networking a lot, and I was meeting all these cool men that I wanted to interview too. And so we kind of sort of had to like get away from it was just going to be the female-led podcast, right? Things happened. Love my friend. She went a separate direction, brought another one in. Same thing. We worked together for a while. She got busy, went a different direction. And so in January of 23, I launched Starter Girls back. I brought it back into life, and I returned it back to its original creation, which was the female-led podcast. And so I love it. It's, I paid an artist to do the logo for us. We came up with the name. It was just kind of a unique thing. And so that one is really, I have 4 parameters. It's obviously women that are coming on the show, but I have 4 parameters, and it goes along with my whole story and everything I've had to, learn and do in the past, since 2012, where we talk about health and well-being, relationships, money, and career, all the things that are important to us.
I love it. That is awesome. Fun stuff. So definitely everybody out there, go pick up those shows, go watch a couple or listen to a couple episodes. So next question for you. What's next for you?
I'm going to get this program done. That's the thing. I want to get this thing. This is my year to get this thing. It's finished. It's built. I just got to get it up and launched and get the cohorts going, what I call them cohorts. Mm-hmm. That's probably right now what I'm doing. I'm kind of got a little bit of a sneak thing going on with my podcast. I don't want to spill all that yet. I got it's not going to be another podcast because I don't have the energy to create another one. But as creators, you probably know we get bored and we're always trying to do things. And so I have a little something that's going to be coming out here soon that I'm working on. That'll be kind of a little bit of a hybrid to the podcast.
Awesome. I love it. Very cool. Okay. So as we're wrapping up, if somebody's listening to this, based on today's conversation and the people that you've helped, what is one action step that you would recommend people run out and do actually today?
I would say if you are not reading a positive book or listening to something positive, I would start that now. I think that's probably the single most important thing to do. And I say that because I think in our space, a lot of us do that, but you will also be amazed at how many leaders I come across that are not filling their cup with positive, positive stuff. We get so boggled reading the newspaper. If we still have it, I guess it's all mostly digital now. We still get paper here, but it's digital, or listening to the news. And we forget, when you do that first thing in the morning, that is not a great way to start. First thing in the morning, get something positive in your space. And if you don't have time to sit down and read, put a video on in your bathroom when you're cleaning up, put it in on the car, on the drive to work, whatever you need to do, but get something positive in your space first thing in the morning.
Yep. No, I love that one. And it's a good one. Like there's a couple of podcasts that I listen to that are short form. So they're like between 3 and maybe 10 minutes tops. And one of the things I like to do in the morning, didn't do it today because we have like snow and ice outside today, but I'll go get a cup of coffee. So I go get my morning mocha and I will listen to those podcasts. That's the first thing that I start with every day. And they are designed to be more that positive, upbeat, better thinking, thinking habits kind of stuff. And they're great. And that's the cool thing is you can take a podcast that's 5 minutes long, and that's a good thing to start your day with.
Yeah, it can make a difference for sure. I always know for me personally, when I'm not, filling my cup on a daily basis, we don't realize how important it is until we move away from it, right? Like if you've been doing it and then you move away, you'll recognize that you need to add this. And this is just one of many things in the puzzle, but this is somewhere I would say start if you're not already doing that.
Right. Yeah, no, for me, I mean, I've noticed it. And like for me during lunches, I take lunchtime to read while I'm eating. And usually it's either meditative related stuff or, business learning. I try not to do too much of the business learning because I'm kind of in that mode all the time.
Right.
But when I get away from that, I notice my brain starts getting foggy. And so that's a habit that I'm like, okay, we have to make sure that that's part of our process every single day. So it's a great one. I love it. So next up, this is the Meet Cool People show. So what does meeting cool people mean to you?
Oh, I love meeting cool people, Eli. We always have to meet cool people. This is where ideas are crafted, right? So for me, it means really just extending a hello or a hi to someone and getting to know someone better, because I firmly believe that if you're stuck, and I used to say this to my team when I was working in the network marketing space, if you're stuck, you probably need to go talk to someone. And I know now that's important. When I'm feeling stuck, it's probably because I'm not out meeting cool people.
I love it. Perfect. All right. Last question. People want to follow you, get to know more about the wonderfulness of Jennifer. Where can they find you?
This is easy. If you can spell my last name, it's just jenniferloehding.com. So Loeh as in Harry, D as in dog, ING. Jennifer's 2 N's.
Awesome. And we will make sure we put that in the show notes as well, so everybody can grab that there. So Jennifer, thank you so much for coming and hanging out with me today. I appreciate it. We had an amazing conversation. It was probably about a month or so ago. And I was like, oh yeah, we're going to have some fun. So thank you for coming and joining me today.
My pleasure. It was fun. Thanks, Eli.
Awesome. And for everybody listening, get out there, have an amazing, amazing day. And as always, if there's anything I can do to help you out, reach out and let me know. Take care. And that wraps up another Meet Cool People show. Now, if you like what you heard, be sure to give us a like, subscribe, or review so I can help introduce these amazing cool people to even more amazing cool people. And just remember, meeting cool people is just the beginning. You need to have a system in place to follow up with the amazing people that you meet. This is exactly what we do for our clients. If you'd like to see if my team and I can help you, go to followuprockstar.com and check out the case study video to see exactly how we're helping our clients turn casual connections into cash clients for life. Again, go to followuprockstar.com and we'll see how we can work together to turn you into a follow-up rockstar.